Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving deep into some fascinating readings about Philippine society and culture, from the enduring influences of foreign cultures to the complex phases of the Moro Wars. So let's get started with some thought-provoking commentary. First up, let's tackle these three intriguing statements. Number 1. The enduring influence of foreign cultures have left an indelible imprint on Philippine soil that cannot be washed away. These influences have seeped into the bedrock of culture and in time transformed the Filipino into something truly unique. This is undeniably true. If you think about it, our language, traditions, religion, and even cuisine carry marks of Spanish, American, Chinese, and Malay influences. For example, Catholicism, brought by the Spaniards, is deeply embedded in our way of life, from fiestas to church-going habits. On the flip side, American influence brought democracy, education systems, and even pop culture. But what's beautiful here is the transformation. These influences didn't just overwhelm our identity. They merged and evolved to create something distinctly Filipino. Take the jeepney, for example. It started as a leftover from American military vehicles, but has become a symbol of Filipino ingenuity and resilience. So, yes, while these imprints are indelible, they've made us vibrant and unique, a melting pot of cultures fused with Filipino creativity. Number 2. The Filipino has been conditioned to think small. Thus, nationalism and national pride were not made of his vocabulary, and that the steadiest thing in his fluid mind is his family ties, its rituals, and its fetishes. His family is his best social security. So for me, this hits home, doesn't it? Filipinos indeed place immense value on family, and it's both a strength and a limitation. Our utang na loob, or debt of gratitude, and strong family bonds ensure we have a support system during life's challenges. But sometimes, this can overshadow our sense of nationhood. Nationalism, unfortunately, isn't always a priority. For many, survivals and providing for their family comes first, especially in a country where opportunities can be scarce. This thinking small may stem from centuries of colonization, where our ancestors were taught to defer to foreign powers. However, I'd argue this is changing. We see more young Filipinos advocating for their rights, protecting the environment, and speaking up against injustices. While family remains central, a growing awareness of the bigger picture, the nation, gives me hope that we're redefining what it means to be Filipino. Number 3. The Filipino is a person with 4 histories and 4 cultures. This one resonates deeply. The Philippines is a tapestry woven from different threads of history and culture. We have number 1, our indigenous roots, which includes the traditions of the Aitas, Igorots, and many other pre-colonial groups. Number 2, the Spanish era, which gives us the Catholicism and colonial government systems. Number 3, the American influence, introducing us to English and Western ideals. And number 4, finally, the Asian influences, particularly Chinese and Malay, seen in our trade, cuisine, and social structures. These histories coexist within us, creating a multidimensional identity. The challenge lies in embracing these layers without losing sight of our indigenous heritage, which is sometimes overshadowed by the more dominant colonial narratives. We must celebrate this diversity while grounding ourselves in our Filipino-ness. Next, let's look at the Philippine society and culture before and during the Spanish period. Before colonization, the Philippines was a collection of independent barangays led by datus. Our ancestors had their own system of governance, trade, and even writing, such as the baybayin. Societies were community-centered, guided by rituals and traditions that honored nature and the spirits. Then came the Spanish period, which was both transformative and disruptive. On one hand, the introduction of Catholicism and Western education changed the social and religious fabric of Filipino life. But on the other hand, colonization imposed a hierarchical structure, with Filipinos subjected to exploitation and the loss of many indigenous traditions. Critically, while the Spanish period brought advancements like infrastructure and literacy, it also introduced colonial mentality, a preference for foreign over local. This mindset, unfortunately, lingers today. Our challenge is to acknowledge the lesson of the past while reclaiming and preserving our pre colonial identity. The reading Cultural Transformation Bringing Out the Best in the Filipino discusses how Filipinos can harness their strengths, resilience, adaptability, and creativity to overcome challenges. However, it also critiques how colonial history has ingrained certain weaknesses, like passivity and dependence. My critique here is that while it's true Filipinos excel when given opportunities, systemic barriers often prevent us from reaching our full potential. Transforming our culture requires more than individual effort. It demands structural reforms in education, governance, and opportunities for growth. The reading is inspiring but needs a deeper exploration of the systems holding us back. Number 2, fighting the wars against forgetting. Fighting the war against forgetting emphasizes the importance of historical memory in shaping national identity. It warns against the dangers of historical revisionism, especially when used to erase or distort past injustices. This resonates deeply with our current situation, where misinformation can rewrite history to suit certain agendas. I appreciate the reading's call to action to preserve and teach our history truthfully. My critique is that it could delve more into how we can fight this war effectively. Beyond education, we need accessible platforms and engaging content to make history relatable to the younger generation. Finally, Language and Culture explores how language reflects and shapes cultural identity. It highlights how colonial rule prioritized foreign languages like Spanish and English over native tongues, leading to a gradual erosion of cultural identity. This critique hits home. Language is a vessel of culture, and losing it means losing a piece of ourselves. However, the reading should also recognize the potential of multilingualism. By balancing global languages like English with our native tongues, we can preserve our heritage while staying connected to the world. It's not about choosing one over the other, but finding harmony between them. Reading The Pact of Biak na Bato as excerpt from Emilio Aguinaldo's memoirs evoked mixed emotions in me. On one hand, it was a moment of hope, an agreement that aimed to temporarily halt bloodshed during the revolution. On the other hand, it felt bittersweet because it highlighted the challenges and compromises the leadership in such turbulent times. When it comes to Pedro Paterno, I have a critical perspective. His role as a mediator seemed diplomatic on the surface, but his motivations are often questioned. Was he truly invested in the Filipino cause, or was he more concerned about securing a prominent place for himself? In his character, for me it comes like opportunistic. While he did help negotiate the pact, the deal's failure to achieve lasting peace and genuine independence leaves room for skepticism about his intentions. It is also a reminder that not all leaders in history up to the present had purely selfless motives. Cesar Adib Majul's analysis of the Moro Wars provides a comprehensive view of the long-standing conflict between the Moro people and various colonial powers, including the Spaniards, Americans, and eventually the Philippine government. Majul highlights the resilience of the Moro people in defending their autonomy and identity. The phases of these wars reveals how external forces repeatedly tried to impose control over the Moro territories, often disregarding their unique culture and sovereignty. From the Spanish period to the American era, and even during the Philippine Republic's attempts to integrate the Moro regions, the conflict has been marked by mistrust and marginalization. Majul's work emphasizes the need to view this history not just as a series of battles, but as a struggle for self determination. Resolving the Moro Christian conflict in southern Philippines requires addressing the root causes of division, historical injustices, marginalization, and lack of mutual understanding. So, for me, I would offer these following solutions. Number one, education and awareness. Implement educational programs that teach both Moro and Christian students about each other's cultures, histories, and struggles. This will breed empathy and understanding between the Moro and Christian students. Number two, economic development. Provides equal opportunity for economic growth in Moro dominated regions to reduce poverty and foster inclusivity. Number three, cultural recognition. Recognize and respect Moro traditions and governance system, integrating them into the larger Philippine framework without erasing their identity. Number four, dialogue and representation. Establish platforms for dialogue between Moro and Christian communities, ensuring that Moro leaders have significant representation in decision-making processes. Federalism is a hot topic in the Philippines, and my stand on it is cautiously optimistic. On the positive side, federalism could allow regions to govern themselves more effectively, addressing local needs and promoting development in historically neglected areas. For instance, it could empower Mindanao to address its unique challenges independently. However, there are also concerns. Federalism requires strong institutions and leaders to prevent corruption and abuse of power at the local level. If these systems aren't in place, it could lead to greater inequality and inefficiency. Ultimately, my stand is that federalism has potential but must be implemented carefully, with safeguards to ensure equitable distribution of resources and power. Without these, it risks creating more problems than it solves. In conclusion, our history and governance challenges are complex, but understanding them is the first step toward finding solutions. Whether it's reflecting on Biak na Bato, resolving the Moro Christian conflict, or debating federalism, one thing is clear. The Filipino spirit is resilient, and so is our hope for a better future. So, what's your take on these topics? Share your thoughts in the comments and let's start a meaningful conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more discussions on history and society. Until next time, mabuhay!